Hello, and welcome to this Designing Music Now review of Solid State Symphony by Indiginous. The most amazing thing about this library, besides the incredible sound, the incredible features, is that it is only $59. There is no reason not to have this in your library collection. It has incredible sound, it does amazing things, and it's really dirt cheap. I really don't know how they do it. All of their libraries are incredible, and all of them are incredibly inexpensive. So first of all, it comes with actually 4 different patches. So it's got the Solid State Symphony, Solid State Strings, there's a K4 version, and then there's the classic version. I'm just going to be reviewing the Symphony. All of the others are, really nice to haves, but once you play with Solid State Symphony itself, you're going to see how truly amazing this is. Indiginous calls this an orchestra simulator because it was created for the most part using analog synths. However, in this new version, they also added some acoustic samples. So there's a crash cymbal, and there are nylon and electric guitars in the pads as well. So yes, there are orchestras, there are pads, there are synthesizers all included. It's really amazing, and they say it gives you orchestral bliss, and just sitting down and playing it, I have to agree. The first thing I would like to do is play a few of the songs that come as MIDI files with this instrument. The first one is Warlord, then Velocity Orchestra, and then we'll play a few other things later. And I'm just going to improvise. Pretty darned amazing. Just straight out of the box, it's checking all of the, if you look real quick in the mixer, you can set the volume settings and the velocity switching. So it's choosing the notes based on those velocity switches. So I'll turn that off, and let's go to the full orchestra. The thing I want to do is show the elements here. These are the different things that we'll be going through in a minute. Here's the full orchestra. just incredibly playable. I'm, not doing anything special other than just playing with different velocities and with emotion, and it really is orchestral bliss. All right, here's Epicness. Really, just so much fun and so easy to get inspiration from this. Here's just the brass. That does sound a bit synthetic to me, but it's still pretty great for a mock-up. I love how the colors change to indicate the various velocities and volumes. By the way, the expression wheel doesn't do anything. So you just, it's velocity sensitive. Yeah, that's a fanfare, all right. Here's the just the strings. There's no articulation. So, well, there is a staccato switch, which we'll get to in a second. But besides staccato, it's basically staccato and legato sustain all together. So you don't have vibrato controls or any of those fancy things that you would have in the more expensive libraries. Just freaking loving this thing. So here's some octave strings. It's a little synthetic when you do things like that. So don't play arps in the octave strings. Here's some strings horns, just strings and the French horns basically. Here are the staccatos. I love how they included a marimba as well. Here's the impressionist version, kind of detuned a bit. And here's a nice one for video games, the Shire. Heavy on the flutes. Very inspirational. And string ensembles. I think you're getting the idea here. Plus, of course, you can set up your own. Let's listen to two more MIDI files that were included with this sample library. And here's one called Main Theme. Here's another included MIDI file called Fanfare. The next thing I want to show you from an overall perspective, let's go to full orchestra and show some of these other, actually, let's just turn the orchestra off and go to the pad scapes. Here we have outer rim selected. So these are not configurable, you just have a bunch of presets, but it sounds very similar to, say, Omnisphere. If I add that in with the orchestra, it can have a nice effect. All right, take the orchestra back out, try a few more of these, like Symphonia. That's darn beautiful. Big drums, so there's drums, like if you need to add percussion. So a storm drum sort of thing. Harps and flutes. Now there are some things that you can actually do with this in terms of the effects. And if you go to the orchestra effects, I believe you can change things, yeah, like the padscapes here. You can add delays. There you go. Let's go to the just the pizzicatos to hear that a little better. You can change the amount of reverb. It's a lot of reverb. So that's cool. So you do have some control, but not much in this particular patch. Okay, now let's look at the gated pad. Here we have the resonaire with various step sequencers on. You can set the amount here. Let's go to the 16ths. Or here you have to get the amount in. That's kind of cool. Now let's try a different patch here, a major minor. Kind of interesting. You can, of course, change the frequencies and resolution, LFO depths, and so on this guy. So now let's go on to the pitch mod, which I really like. Do some really interesting things. This is the first one, and here's the second one. So you can have two on at the same time. And those are the sawtooth. Let's go ahead and choose a square. Hear the difference. For the two, let's do the gamer. You can change the presets on the velocities here. There's some pretty cool effects there. Next one in line here is the bass. And it's you select from various different basses and presets. Here, that's the bass 5. Choose bass 1. The pattern here. Pattern 8. So that's kind of cool. Now the other cool one here is the percussion itself. So this is like a drum kit if you want. It's a storm drum. Here's the kit. Okay, so now I'm really going to blow your mind. I'm just going to go ahead and turn all of this on and see what we have here. So we have the full orchestra with everything else going. So that's pretty darned amazing. And this is just the major features. There are things like I mentioned before, the mixer. You can control the velocities of each one, or essentially the volume of each relative to one another. The velocity switching tells you how much the velocity switches between each one. You can set key ranges, transpose each of the different sections. You can have effects. Basically, it's just the delay and reverb for the synth, and just reverb for the others. But you can set it on a instrument by instrument basis. And let's see what else here. I believe that's it on the mixer. The other great things are that you can save your orchestra into different presets. Don't overwrite those, that's a problem. And finally, I tried this out, which is basically just a MIDI file that I got from the internet from a site called Classical Archives. This is Beethoven's String Quartet number 15 in A minor, Opus 132, the Heiliger Dankesang. Check this out, played by the Solid State Symphony. I tried it with several of the different settings, including some synths and things like that, so just had a little bit of fun with this. So I hope you enjoyed this review of Solid State Symphony by Indiginous. For more reviews, check out www.designingmusicnow.com. Thank you very much. We'll see you for the next one. Thank you for listening to the Designing Music Now podcast, a podcast dedicated to the craft of creating music for video games and interactive media. Please visit us at designingmusicnow.com for more info, news, and reviews on this subject. We would love to hear from you. Hello and welcome to this Designing Music Now review of Solid State Symphony Q by Indiginous. And Indiginous has done an amazing job with taking a massive project, such as an orchestra, and making it very small and very simple. So first of all, I wanted to show you that samples are a total of, if you look at the properties here, a total of 147 megabytes. So it's really tiny in size, not in power. So let's take a listen. So that's pretty massive for 147 megabyte total library size. That's the Orchestra 2. If you want to click on the shorts here, you can do that. Try the strings. That's pretty awesome. Let's try the velocity switching. So that's the velocity switching. Let's try Orchestra 1. Pretty sweet for this little tiny library. Now, of course, this is essentially the same samples as you would find here in the Solid State Symphony. So it's doing a lot of the same stuff as you would find and hear here. Of course, with Solid State Symphony, it's a much fuller sound, and you have all other sorts of things like pads and gated pads and so on that you can turn on, like this. But as a little brother of this instrument, I think that cue really is quite impressive. So let's check out the staccato elements for Orchestra 1. That's cool. Those are staccatos, and here are the chords. If we come down here, you can see kind of how the chords work. If you set chords 1 or chords 2 on, it gives you different chords from different octaves. Different inversions. And different sets of instruments. So if we come up here, the chords work in a similar way, although they don't turn on the keyboard for you. They're just taking some of that functionality from the other one and allowing you to change it. And here you do have a lot of the settings that you have in the original Solid State Symphony. You can change your velocity switches. You've got global and expression amount. So all right, so that's Q, and it's really cute. It's really simple. A cool little instrument that probably could be played easily on a laptop or anything on the go. So if you just wanted to jot down some ideas on the train, this might be a good way to do it.